Today on The Occult Detective, we're going to talk about David Scher's Spirit Voices. David Scher has written a fascinating book on North Asian shamanism. The book is extremely well written. Scher definitely knows his stuff. Let's take a quick look at what the publisher has to say about it. Author David Scher, for whom these are family traditions, explores the history and practice of shamanism. What is it? Where is it from? How does one become a shaman? Scher guides readers through unfamiliar territory, the landscape of North Asia, and through what are largely hidden and unfamiliar traditions. Spirit Voices takes an in-depth look at three main cultural shamanic traditions: Turkic, Mongolic, and Tungus. Spirit Voices features history, mythology, and folklore to explore the spirits, spirituality, and practices of true shamanism. In addition to history and analysis of North Asian shamanism, Scher also provides practical information for those readers seeking to implement practices that are appropriate to non-initiates and outsiders of the culture. I studied shamanism quite a bit in college. I was an anthropology major and took independent study in witchcraft, magic, and religion under the tutelage of Professor Flores Meyer. And the professor, she was Filipino, and it was her impetus to make sure that I had a well-rounded education in various cultures globally. So I'll admit that a lot of my focus in shamanism was with Native American faiths, but also I studied like the Dobi Kung in Africa and various cultures like in Northern Europe and such. But obviously the term shaman comes from the Siberian peoples. Scher covers a lot of that in here. He goes really in depth in the various types of shamans that one would meet in these primarily three distinct Northern Asian cultures, and just how the different roles that these different types of shamans played and their importance in the cultural identity of those people. It's a really fascinating read. I love the cover. It's well put together by Weiser. I mean, typical trade paperback dress, obviously, but it has really, I always appreciate the non-glare pages, so that any light, under any reading circumstance, you're not getting that kind of eye strain that you often get. So I just prefer this kind of paper. The fonts are terrific, make it nice and easy to read. And this book in particular has a lot of photographs, historical references. Here, I'll show this off here. Scher really impressed me. He definitely did a deep dive in these cultural aspects, and I understand, it's his heritage, so that love comes through, that connection is definitely very evident. I definitely would recommend this book to anyone interested in the shamanic practice. Obviously, I am not North Asian, but I can extrapolate a lot of what I read here and make those connections with my own culture, primarily because so much of my culture is lost. So when you deal with the the Northern European faiths that were stamped out, and that there's so little left. There is a universal connection that you have among these shamanic practices that you can kind of piece together and understand the way things would work. But just a really, really good book. I recommend it highly. It is now available from Wiser Books, and really, I encourage you, no matter what magical practice you're in, this book is great. And for those of you who are watching this that are not a part of the magical community, but perhaps are writers of either like urban fantasy, occult detectives, even fantasy, this is the kind of information that you need to put in your head so that when you put things on the page, it comes across believably, even when you're constructing things from whole cloth. It's these kind of writings that inform and impress upon you, and make your fiction far more believable. But for you magic practitioners, this is the real deal. This is good stuff, and I think you'll love it. I certainly did.